Hey you guys, welcome to Love Awa. So this is my official first video that I'm creating for this channel. So I do have a video that I did upload, which is just something from my other channel that I brought over to this channel because I wanted you guys to see the progress over a year time. So that way y'all know like what I'm about to drop in this video is not BS. I'm actually giving you guys tips where you guys can actually see results. And just a disclaimer, if you guys can't tell, obviously, this is not one of those videos where I just genetically have clear skin. Listen y'all, that's not what this video is. I am a person who has dealt with acne for several years, and this is coming from a place of experience and not just from a place of God has blessed me with amazing skin. So that is why I'm emphasizing this at the start of this video, because when I was dealing with my acne at its worst, to be completely honest, I never really cared to look for the content that came from people who already had clear skin. Not to say that they didn't have like good advice to give, but I mean, like, y'all know what I'm saying. Well, like a person who never had a pimple in their life, maybe had like one or two, and then they want to make skincare videos. Yes, it may work for some people because they may have a good routine, but when you are dealing with acne, you want to know that the person who you are getting advice from is coming from a place of, hey, I dealt with this too and this is how I resolved it. Because if you have acne, you know how stubborn and how difficult and just how mentally taxing it can be to like try to figure out how to get rid of it, and you're trying all these different things and nothing seems to be working. Or you might notice results and then like you notice like your acne still keeps coming back. So before we get started on this video, here are some things that I didn't mention but were really important lifestyle changes that I made, just to give you guys an idea of where the direction of this video is gonna go. Plus there's a whole lot more that I talked about that I didn't mention in these 10 points that I'm about to mention. So get your pen and papers together, because y'all, I'm about to be dropping a whole lot of things from beginning to end. So let's get into it. Number one, drinking a gallon of water a day is a non-negotiable. It just helps to flush the toxins out of your body. Number two, I do not drink juice and I do not drink soda at all. My way of getting that soda feel is by drinking flavored sparkling water. I absolutely love that. Number three, no matter how much I love my little chewy pastries, I do not indulge in them. If it has refined sugar in it, meaning white sugar, brown sugar, honestly, I'm not eating it. If anything, the only time I really have like cakes and things like that are on birthdays, and that's probably like what, 4 to 5 times a year, and I have a decent slice. That's not too much, you get what I'm saying? However, I do not deprive myself of those things. I just recreate healthier options. So instead of using refined sugar, I'll use bananas, I'll use sweet potatoes, I'll use dates as my sweetener. Number four, alcohol consumption can contribute to the development of acne, primarily through disrupting hormonal balance, weakening the immune system, and causing dehydration. For me personally, if there's ever an occasion where I'm like celebrating or just like unwinding, I might do some dry wine, hard seltzer, but I'm sorry, you will not catch me having a sugary drink. Number five, incorporating green juices into your daily routine is such a great way to just like brighten up your skin and heal your acne, especially if you're including celery, because it is full of vitamin A. And then of course you can eat like your other leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, kale, and all that good stuff. Number six, avoid overheating your skin at night. Heavy blankets and warm rooms increase your sweat and oil productions while you sleep. Number seven, and I know this one might be hard for the girls, but be a little more mindful and disciplined during that time of the month. So, you know, before and after, try not to like indulge in your cravings. Instead, opt for healthier options like dates, fruits, and dark chocolate to, you know, satisfy that sweet tooth. Number eight, improve your quality and duration of your sleep sessions in the nighttime. That is the time where your body is actually healing the most. Number nine, and this one, y'all, I know this one is gonna be a little difficult, but we have to find ways. It is so important for you to manage your stress levels, because when you are overstressing, you are increasing your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, which ultimately leads to an increase of sebum production. And number 10, this one is a little hard for me because I like crunchy fried food, but choose air frying versus deep frying. I promise you, your skin is gonna love it and you don't need all that oil, especially not the unhealthy oils. So now that I got that out the way, this is my skin currently, and I just got off my period, so you know, ignore that one. But this is what my skin currently looks like. Way better than what it was before. So I'm still healing, right? You know, listen, everything don't gotta be perfect. So this is what I'm currently working with, and these are just what I had within the last week from my period. And this is this side. my forehead. So I do have like a bit of texture, but like that's normal. I listen, y'all, we about to talk about it in this video because I've learned to accept that texture is normal, because I used to feel like, oh, I want glass skin, and yes, it is possible because some people are able to achieve that, but until then we are worried about how to get rid of the pimples from forming, and then we could worry about texture after. So yeah, so initially I thought I was gonna do my makeup, but then I decided like, why? It's an acne video, it's about skin, so let's just keep it bare face, you know. Also, the perfectionist in me wanted to like really have this scripted out and just have like bullet points. Honestly, with how overwhelmed that I was getting with just trying to like organize it, because so many different things tie into each other, I'm like, listen, if I don't just record this video, I'm going to procrastinate on it. And honestly, I've procrastinated on this video for a really long time, and it's about time that the information comes out. So y'all, please bear with me. I might be a little all over the place, but I promise y'all, if y'all just take into account everything that I'm saying in this video and just look at your life and say like, okay, have I tried this out? Is this something that I've paid attention to? What can I adjust? And that way you are liable to see results. Okay, so anyways, let's get straight into this video. So just to give a backstory, I started to get acne, I want to say like in high school, but I would probably get like a few pimples here and there, like along the jawline. But that's also because I used to like lean on my arm a lot in class, and plus I used to rub them little Bath and Body and Victoria's Secret lotions on my hand during the day. And plus, you know, like we're not washing our hands that often throughout the school day, so it's like in class I'll be leaning on it, and I would always, it never failed, I would always get a pimple somewhere along here depending on which side I did, and it always happened the same day or the next day. So that's when I noticed touching your face is a big no-no. Okay, the only time I'm touching my face is when I'm washing my face. And when I say I'm very mindful about how I touch my face, when I touch my face, I really do mean it. I do not play about people touching my skin. Don't touch my face, please don't touch my face. So when I'm outside, if my face is itching, it's gonna just have to itch. Or if I have like my nail, I might just tap the area, but I will not touch my face like just bare hand. Like when I be seeing people touch on their face just after being outside, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never do this. I try not to lean on my skin, especially if it's not freshly washed. So usually when it's time to like go to bed, I don't put any lotion on my hands, just because I usually use my hand as a barrier sometimes with my pillows. Oftentimes I'm not laying directly on my pillow, I'm laying like on my hand on the pillow, just because I feel like, especially the bonnets, they don't be staying on my head. Y'all, I'm still trying to figure out what to put on my head to secure my hair from not coming out in the middle of the night, because that's another thing. Our hair is touching things throughout the day. It's on our body, it's on our clothes are touching things. You have to really be mindful about these things. And I'm not saying to like hyper fixate on it, but I just pay attention to little details. So I really try to be as mindful as possible, of course without letting it like control my life. Just think about the thing that your face might come into contact with, and then think about the things that those things come in contact with, and that way it'll give you an idea of like, all right, like how contaminated is this particular thing that I'm often allowing to come into contact with my skin. So when it comes to your pillowcases, it is really wise to just like cycle them out every like 3 to 4 days, just because your head is on them for long periods of time, your hair is touching it, your hair produces oils, and if you're a person who adds like products into your hair, that's like putting the product damn near on your skin, because you know the contact. And just a little hack, when it comes to like your bed covering, I have like the, you know, the stretchy one that goes over the mattress, and then the sheet, right? I usually lay over the sheet, and then I have like a duvet on top. So my sheet set, I usually switch out like once a week, honestly. And then when it comes to the pillowcases, because it usually comes with 4 in each set, I use 2 for like the first half of the week, and then I switch out the pillowcases while still leaving the bed set, and then I'll use the other 2 pillowcases. So that way by the end of the week I've used the entire set, and I just put it in the laundry and then switch it out for like something else. Honestly, I would recommend having about like 3 to 4 sheet sets that you can cycle out throughout the month, so that way you know that you're covered, because like I said, each of them usually come with about 4 pillowcases. Or if you want, you can even purchase like pillowcases on Amazon, and I think you get like a bundle of 10 for maybe like under $10. So there is a way to really navigate this without overcomplicating it or without having so much product, but you're still able to make sure that you're covering the main thing. And also when I go to sleep, I try my hardest not to like sleep on my stomach, important just because I know like my face is going to be directly in contact with everything. I usually try to sleep on my back, or like I said, if I'm sleeping on my side, I'm like leaning on my arm or my hand. So I also would recommend to try your hardest to like train yourself to sleep on your back. I'm not saying like you have to do that, but it just helps because it's like your skin is getting the air that it needs and all of that without like being suffocated and everything else, and also your oils being stripped while you're sleeping and all of that good stuff. And then while we're on the topic of like sleeping, but also me mentioning the products that I used to put on my hand while I would touch my face and then I would break out, another key thing that I feel like people don't pay attention to is the moisturizers that you're putting on your body. So a lot of times like we know like, okay, we're not going to pick up Bath and Body or Victoria's Secret or something with fragrance and put that on our skin, but we're more willing to put it on our bodies. But then again, throughout the day or even in the nighttime, if your skin is now coming in contact with your body, it's basically almost like you applying your body cream onto your skin. So that's why for me personally, I don't really use like the fragrancy fruity stuff. I just stick to like pure jojoba oil for my skin, because if you didn't know, jojoba oil is very similar to the natural oils that our bodies produce that comes out of our skin. So it's non-comedogenic, so it doesn't clog your pores. It's very lightweight, it's moisturizing, it's hydrating. So for me, it's like if I'm sleeping and I happen to like lean like this or whatever, because we don't know how we're sleeping, let's be honest, right? Unless you got a camera or something, or you can really control yourself. I can sleep one way and wake up another way. So during that time period throughout the night, I don't know what my skin is coming in contact with. So I try to eliminate everything as much as I could to avoid me possibly compromising my skin. So like I said, I use jojoba oil to moisturize my skin after the shower. So that way, if it were to come in contact with my face, I wouldn't be like pressed too much, just because it's like, okay, well, this is not going to compromise my skin so much. Unlike, let's say, for example, like the CeraVe body moisturizer, I was using that on my body, and there was a point in time that I was using it on my face, which y'all, please don't do this. And some people it might work, but for me it did not work. But there's also ingredients in the body lotion that is pore clogging that you wouldn't want to put on your skin. But I didn't know that at the time before I got into like really looking into ingredients and things like that. So I would put the body lotion on my body, but then I would also sometimes put it on my face, or even if I didn't put it on my face and it was just on my body and I use like my actual like face moisturizer, I would sometimes notice breakouts along like my jawline from being in contact with my skin, especially, and this is another point, especially if like I feel like in the summer months I don't go to sleep with like heavy clothing, right? So I might have on like something with a tank top or like a sports bra. So that means like all of my skin is basically out. So if my face does come in contact with my shoulders, that is again me applying this onto my skin, which would then cause a breakout. Versus the times where I would wear like a baggy t-shirt or something that would basically cover like this top half of my body. So like a short sleeve shirt or whatever the case is, if my skin were to come in contact with it, because it's a clean shirt, I don't really trip too much and I don't notice breakouts. But oftentimes if it is just bare skin, and let's be honest, sometimes in the middle of the night you would sweat, right? I don't know I'm sweating, but I could be sweating just from like the heat of just even like having my neck like closed up. So that can also cause like some type of like reaction, which would then cause a breakout. So it's really important to just be mindful of those things. So in this particular point that I mentioned, changing out your pillowcase every 3 to 4 days. Also being mindful of what lotions you're putting on your skin, because sometimes that can transfer onto your skin. Next, I'm going to go into just like skincare and what you're applying onto your skin. So I realized when I was younger, I was doing a lot. Like we saw a pimple and we thought, oh my gosh, let's treat it with all these different things. And I didn't realize, like when I look back now, y'all, I was damaging my skin barrier like crazy, because I was trying to strip my skin so much of the oils, not realizing that I had oily, dehydrated skin. So my skin is oily, but with everything that I was doing, I was not hydrating it. So it's like I was just causing more oils to be like pumping out, just because my skin is like, well, you're dry, so that means I have to overcompensate to create oils so that I can lubricate the skin. But ultimately that excess of oil was what was clogging my pores, along with like other things which we're going to get into. But I think it's really important that you don't overdo it with your skincare. What what you might see that works for other people does not mean that it is just going to work for you. So say for example, a person with dry skin, you would think like, okay, you need something with moisture, with hydration, and just oil, right? So that may work for that person, right? Because you don't want to dry their skin out even more. Versus a person with oily skin, you cannot give them those same exact like tools, because it's like, okay, yeah, you could use hydration because all of our skin needs hydration, and that goes into like the dehydrated versus hydration. And a lot of people confuse dehydration with dry and oily, but it's like, it's two different things. Like, you can have dry and oily skin, but you can also have hydrated or dehydrated skin. So you have to really pay attention to that. Ideally, after analyzing the person's skin, you might say like, okay, you need hydration and you need some moisture, but you don't need like oil or something heavy, because then that's only going to clog you up even more. So when it comes to your skincare, less is more. And I'm telling you guys, less is more. Back in the day when I used to have all these extra toners, this and serums and all of that, I'm not saying that it didn't help, but because it's like I had other things that I didn't rule out or that I was still like doing that was triggering my acne, so I never really know how effective those things were, because it's like, yeah, my skin was getting better, but I was still breaking out. So it was like this repeating cycle, like you're clearing the acne, but then you're also doing things to cause the acne. So I never really knew how that particular like skincare regimen was. But also during that time, because I was wanting to fix my acne so much and I'm listening to so many different recommendations, I would be trying out different things, and it's like, girl, you have to be consistent with products in order to see the results. But like I said, you also have to be making sure you're checking other areas of your life that isn't triggering the acne. So for right now, since we're talking about skincare, I'm gonna just talk about that, and then I'm gonna get into like the food and diet portion after. So right now, for the last like maybe like year and a half, 2 years, my skincare routine is very simple. I've noticed that ever since I've been consistent with this routine, my skin has been balancing out in terms of producing extra oils than it needs. So I went to just go get all the products so that way you guys can see like what they look like. So this is the jojoba oil that I get from acne.org, and it is cold pressed, 100% organic, and it says adds moisture and it includes hydration. You can use it as a makeup remover. Sometimes I use this for like a makeup remover just as my first cleanse, and then I'll follow up with like a double regular water-based cleanse, and it's non-comedogenic. So on the bottle it says, out of all the things nature produces, jojoba oil is the most chemically similar to human skin oil, making it an ideal non-comedogenic, so it won't clog pores, skincare ingredient. So I love to use this to moisturize my body. This does the job for the body and for the skin if it happens to touch it, and I'm cool with that. So now for my morning routine, I use the acne.org cleanser. And I used to be the person where I felt like when I wash my skin, it needs to feel clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to use Dr. Bronner's, the light blue, like the unscented cleanser. And although I felt like it was good, when I say it stripped my skin, it stripped my skin. So I realized, like, you know what? Let me just go for something a little more balanced. So I went back to using my acne.org cleanser, and this is pretty good. It does soap up, and I still do feel like clean after without feeling like completely stripped and dried of my natural oil. So I like to double cleanse with this, and then after I pat dry with a Bounty tissue. I don't use a towel, I don't use anything that's like something that I already use. I always go for a clean paper towel to pat dry. I don't drag, I don't do this. I pat dry, and I even leave it a little damp sometimes just because it's like, why not? It'll help like absorb all the other stuff that I'm about to add on, and I don't want my skin to be dry. So I'll then go in with the Paula's Choice, the 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. So it's basically a salicylic acid toner. So before I used to put it on a cotton pad, but I stopped doing that because I feel like I was just wasting product and I was dragging it on my skin. So I'll go in with this every morning after I cleanse, and I'll just put like 2 drops on my hand, and then I rub and just pat it all over, making sure to skip like around my eye area, just because that area is like really thin skin, and I've noticed that when I do get it on that area, sometimes it can be a little irritating. So I try to avoid that area, and then I go in with my CeraVe PM facial moisturizing lotion because it is ultra light. Y'all, my skin, I need something that feels like water on my skin. I don't need something that's heavy and cream, because I feel like it just feels heavy. I feel like it clogs my pores. But this is like the perfect balance of moisturizing while adding in hydration. It has 3 essential ceramides, niacinamide, and hyaluronic acid, and it says oil free, and that is really important. When you already have oily skin, you don't want to add more oil to your skin unless it's jojoba oil if you need a little something. But other than that, I wouldn't add anything else. When I used to do coconut oil, or what other oils people said, y'all, when I tell you them things clog my pores disgustingly bad. And that's when I realized the internet, you can't trust everything because it will literally ruin you in certain ways. So I use this. This is the PM one, but I use it in the AM as well just because like it's a good moisturizer. But if I'm not using this, then I'll use an oil-free gel moisturizer. So that's like really water-based. So I'm just gonna enter the picture here because I actually ran out of that. So I absolutely love this, and it's equivalent to this. I just don't use the AM version of this, so it's the light blue one, just because it has sunscreen, and I feel like it's not that it's bad, but I feel like every sunscreen that I've used clogged my pores in some type of way and I would break out. And I'm still trying to find a sunscreen that doesn't leave a white film. I've tried Black Girl sunscreen, I've tried this brand sunscreen, I've tried sunscreen from an esthetician that I used to go to, and I feel like, yeah, they were good. I guess they blocked me from the sun, but it's just like I don't want to be like left with like this film on my skin, or maybe that's what it's supposed to do, but I just didn't like it because when it came time to like washing it off and all of that, I just wasn't feeling it. So personally, I like to just use this to let my skin absorb whatever sun it could get. And because I do content full time, I'm typically usually always in the house unless I do go out, which is not as often as I am in the house. So this is perfectly fine for me. Your skin needs vitamin D. You just don't want to overdo it, right? And I don't overdo it. So for me, it's just like, you know, I'm gonna just free bowl it out there without sunscreen. But I know somebody gonna be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, and I get it. That's probably like the one thing in this video that people might be like. But personally for me, I haven't had any issues with me not using sunscreen over the last 2 years, and my skin has gotten better. So honestly, I'm just sticking to what works and I'm just sharing it. So you modify things the way that you see best fit for you. I always do my daytime routine and I always do my nighttime routine. Do not skip it. Sometimes if I wash my face, if I have like a late start in the day and I might have gotten out of bed at like 12 or something, and then I do my daytime routine and I know I'm not going anywhere, I'm not sweating, I might skip my nighttime routine. But I only do that when I'm like listening to my skin, because sometimes, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes you have to be able, you get to a point where you can read what your skin needs, and sometimes I just leave the moisture that's already on there because I don't want to like over dry it, or I feel like, okay, when I do my nighttime routine, I don't need to add any more actives, let me just let my skin rest. And I might do that like once a week depending on if I'm having a slow week, but usually I wash my face day and night. So now for my nighttime routine, I go in with my cleanser, double cleanse for 1 minute each session, and then after pat dry with a tissue. And y'all, my holy grail that I've been using for the past 1.5 years is adapalene gel. Y'all, the 0.03%, and I got this from the dermatologist. And y'all, this is equivalent to different gel. And when I tell you the different gel that I buy from Target, Walmart, CVS, or whatever the case is, their tube is like a small port, like this size, and y'all, I paid $16 for it and it lasts me a month. This I got from the dermatologist, and I've had this for over 3 months, maybe even going on 4 months, and I still have some in here that can last me about like another month. And when I say the dermatologist, I bless y'all for this. And when you get it over the counter, it's only 0.1%, but the dermatologist, they gave me a 0.3%, so it's a bit stronger, and I don't have to put out any money and my insurance covers it. So a win is a win, right? So I absolutely love this cream, and I feel like this is what really changed the game for my skin. So usually in the evening, I keep it down to just these 2 things, and I keep it very light with this, and I again avoid like around the eye area, and that's pretty much it. But if I am feeling dry, then I will go in with this maybe in like the sensitive area, so around my eye, around my nose, and around my mouth. Or I'll just do like a very, since this is lightweight, sometimes I'll just use this like and just put it on after this dries, but oftentimes I just go in straight with this and that's it. Or sometimes when my skin needs a little extra TLC, I might just do the cleanser and I might just do this, and I'll skip the adapalene gel just because it's like it's okay to take a 1-day break, you get what I'm saying? So like I said, it's really important to learn to listen to your skin, skin and really just see like what it wants. But of course that takes time, so don't feel like, you know, like kind of bummed out about not knowing like what your skin needs when it needs it. It takes time. Like you have to study your skin. You have to study your skin the way you would learn yourself, basically. And that way I feel like you know how to best serve it when it needs something and know when to adjust things. So y'all, that is literally my skincare routine. I have my cleanser, 2 active ingredients. So right now I'm just using salicylic acid and the adapalene gel and moisturizer. And then this one is the AHA glycolic acid moisturizer, the 10% lotion from acne.org. I used to use this a lot before, and this is also really great because it doesn't clog your pores, it exfoliates. It's like a chemical exfoliant, but it's also hydrating, it's moisturizing. So I do like to use this, but honestly, ever since I got like my 4 ingredient skincare routine, I don't really use this as often. If anything, I might just use this like 3 times out of the month just when I think about it as a moisturizer while skipping the adapalene gel. But honestly, I haven't used this in a while because honestly, I feel like the salicylic acid and the adapalene gel has worked wonders for my skin, because as a person who has like oily skin that can kind of like get like sticky and clog up in the pores, those 2 active ingredients are great for unclogging and also just like making the pores less sticky and also just breaking down the gunk chemically to where I don't feel like I need to do too much. I haven't had a facial in 5 to 6 months, and y'all, that is so different for me because before these last like 7 years, I always felt like I had to get a facial at least every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, so that my skin can look like renewed again, so that it doesn't build up with all the clogged pores and the blackheads and the comedonal acne, because that's what I feel like I dealt with a lot. You know, the blackheads, the skin color texture bumps that are like tiny, but when you squeeze it like white stuff come out. That's what I had a lot of, and I just couldn't understand. So I think it's really important to know your skin type, know the type of acne that you have, but also like do your research on what is causing your acne and how can you counter that with topical stuff. So for me, I noticed that my type of acne was coming from just clogged pores of sweat, dirt, oil, and all that stuff. So I use products that break those things down, and I use them actively daily. So that way it's keeping things balanced, keeping things from starting, but also keeping things, you know, just under bay, so that way it doesn't progress into something more. I feel like I've found like the best skincare routine for myself. So if you have insurance, go to the dermatologist. Of course, like assess them, because y'all, that's another thing. I gave up on dermatologists because I literally feel like every single dermatologist I've went to, when I tell you, they pissed me off. It was almost like I'm going in and you don't even want to know what's going on in my life. You don't even care to know what's my routine like. They walk in, they look at your skin and they say, okay, prescribe her this. Like at first when you go to the dermatologist, you think like, okay, let me not really give too much pushback or even like state things, because it's like, oh, they know what they're doing. But after a while, when you start to notice like a lot of these dermatologists just want to charge your insurance, and they aren't really trying to help. It's just like, oh, here's this. But it's like, just because something works for someone else does not mean it works for everybody. I know they're not like nutritionists and all these other things, but there are so many different factors that goes into acne besides just what you put on your skin. You also have to pay attention to what's going on inside. So now to talk about like hair, right? Oftentimes people put like products in their hair because you want to keep it moisturized, or you want your curls to be popping, or you want whatever the case is, right? One thing that I notice about my skin is I can't do hair products, and I know to some people this might be like I can't get down with that, but just from my personal experience, I cannot put any products in my hair for several reasons, because sometimes I feel like the products make my hair itch, but for some reason anytime I have products in my hair I notice breakouts. And again, that goes back into the hair being on the pillows and then the pillow touching the face. So for me personally, I just opt out of greasing my hair just because I feel like it just does not work for me. Before I got my locks, when I would do my braids or when I would do my curly hair, when I would do my frontals, y'all, when I tell you, it was not working for me, okay? Like the front tools, first of all, was eating at my edges. All right, I did a video on that on my Awa Awaken channel, but I also noticed how like the product that I had to like glue down on my forehead, so I had to glue the wig down, then I had to do my edges. I just noticed how I would always break out around my perimeter, and because I did lashes, I also noticed that on a lot of clients who did wear front tools, their perimeter will always have like little bumps and things on it just because of the product buildup. And when you have front tools, you want it to last as long as possible while it still looks good, so you're going to try to avoid washing that area. But for me, once I noticed that I had to choose between preserving my front tool versus like cleaning my face so that I don't have to break out, I had to choose my face, because listen, a hairstyle is a hairstyle, but my skin, that needs to be on point. You get what I'm saying? So that was one of my main motivators to not wear wigs and to just lock my hair. I mean, I love locks, but that was really like a main factor where I'm just like, you know what, this is not working for me, so I'm not even gonna like dibble in it. But I will also say, like, when it comes to edge control and things like that, I may not be greasing my actual scalp, but it's like the product here, listen, the edges got to be laid. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, that was also another thing. When I would use edge control that had like oils and just all these different things in it, I would always break out along my perimeter. But also I noticed that a lot of edge controls don't hold throughout the entire day. So when I'm sweating throughout the day, or if it might rain or whatever the case is, the edge control might not stay. But if it's melting, that means it's melting somewhere and it's melting onto my skin. So I would notice like breakouts along my perimeter here, just all along this area I would notice breakouts. So eventually I found my holy grail edge control that I've been standing by for I don't even know how many years. Like, I want to say since college. It's the Got to Be Glue in the black bottle. When I tell you the edges don't move, the edges don't move until I want it to move, and I gotta wet like a tissue and like dampen the area and then rub it off. But this has been the only edge control that stays in place, so I don't have to worry about, oh, it's going to transfer onto my skin, because when I'm ready to take it off is when it comes off, but it never just melts off throughout the day. So anytime people recommend like, oh, what edge control is good that don't move, I will recommend the black Got to Be Glue bottle, because as y'all can see, the edges is there. It's not going nowhere. So your hair products is another major thing. So being that I have locks now, my wash routine is usually to wash my hair like once a month, or if it was like a really hot month, I might wash it like every like 2 to 4 weeks. But typically now I try to do like 4 weeks, so that way I can preserve my hairstyles as much as possible. So when I wash my hair, the initial wash is just to get whatever like gunk is in it out, and then the second wash is just to get like a thorough wash, because that's when the soap starts to set up. You know, the first wash, when you apply it, the shampoo, the suds just die out because it's like all this oil and just like hair products in it. But the second wash is where you're getting that good old cleaning. And then sometimes, depending, I might even do a third wash, just because I have locks so I can't get through the strands, but I allow it to like, you know, soak up in there and squeeze the water out. Anyways, so for me personally, I'll do like a double triple wash, and then after that I don't put any conditioner, just because I have locks. But then after that I don't grease my hair, nothing, until the next wash, just because my hair will naturally produce oils on its own. And yeah, I'm sorry, but like, if I gotta choose between my hair health and my skin health, I'm gonna choose my skin health. But my hair hasn't been giving me any trouble, so that's why I'm saying like, this might not work for everybody, but for me personally it works. But with me walking outside, here is a result of that. So that's why, you know, y'all, listen, it's a fighting battle, but we getting through it. But that just goes to show you how, like, when you have your hair in your face, that can trigger your acne. Again, like I said, I had makeup on, I was sweating throughout the day, my hair is touching my face, so it's just a lot going on in this area, and as a result, that's what I got. But listen, I ain't tripping, okay? I'm not tripping, because it's gonna go down in a couple days. But now that I mentioned that, another thing is, I do not pick at my acne. I do not pick at it. I do not pick at it. I used to be a person that would pick at my acne. If I saw it, I'm not saying like pick, but like if I saw like the white part was out, I would squeeze it, because I'm like, well, let me help the process. But I noticed that when I used to do that, I would always be left with hyperpigmentation that lasted for like months before it went away. Versus now, when I have a pimple like this, I just leave it alone. When it decides to, let's say, like pop on its own while I come out the shower, and I notice like, oh, it's no longer like, you know, a head anymore, I might just squeeze out a little bit without applying too much pressure to not further inflame the area. But I'll just squeeze out a little bit, and then I'll pop a little different gel on it and just let it go and go about my day. Like, I had a pimple here maybe about like 3-4 days ago, and literally is one of those pimples where you don't see a head, but it's like inflamed in the area, and once you decide you want to pop it or anything like that, it's gonna leave like a really big scar. I have not touched it, and literally the pimple, I'm not gonna touch my face, but literally the pimple is almost flat. You get what I'm saying? So it's just really important to just let your skin do what your skin wants to do, because you squeezing at it, picking at it, is only gonna cause the area to get inflamed even more, which will further prolong the process of healing, when you could just leave it and let your skin handle it the way that it's best gonna handle it, and then it'll go away on its own. So now let's talk about the beauty routine. So when I used to do my makeup, I had a liquid foundation routine. So I would use liquid foundation, I would use liquid concealer, I would use cream contour, and I just realized with all of that, it was so heavy for my skin to where literally every time I did my makeup, and it never failed, every single time that I did my makeup, I had a breakout the following day, and I just could not understand. No matter how often I clean my makeup brushes, if I clean them after every use, I always had a pimple somewhere along this area, and I just could not understand it. And oftentimes, because I naturally have oily skin, the makeup is already oily, I just feel like it was a lot going on my skin to where I feel like it wasn't breathing the way that it should. And when I did my makeup, my skin would produce extra oil, so then I'll be looking like a glazed donut by the end of the day, and I just did not like that. And one day I just decided, like, you know what, the makeup could be a problem, when I started to pay attention to my diet and I actually worked on my diet. But then I started doing content, so I would do my makeup maybe like 3-4 times a week while I was recording, and at this time I was still going to my esthetician, and we were just trying to figure out like what is going on that I am still breaking out. So then I started to direct my attention towards my makeup, and I started to research just the ingredients in it. And yes, you can go on the website to look to see like what are the ingredients in your makeup products, and then go on Google. But personally, one tip that I could give for you to like look through your makeup products to see like if the ingredients are productive for your skincare routine is to go on ChatGPT and just write down the name of the makeup products, you know, like the brand, the specific name, and then see like, are there any acne causing ingredients in this, and they will explain it and break it down to you. And from there, that's when I started to realize like, okay, like I can't use this anymore, because I was using the NARS foundation. I thought like, okay, if I go spend a pretty penny on the foundation versus getting a drugstore foundation, then maybe I should be good, right? But it didn't matter the price of the foundation. If there was a specific ingredient in the product that was acne causing, then I was just like, you know what, let me just take a step back from this. And ultimately, that is what led me to trying out a powder foundation routine. And y'all, when I tell you, this has been a game changer for me, especially how often I do my makeup. I don't break out as often as I used to when I would do a liquid foundation routine, and I think it is so important for me to mention that as well, especially if you are a makeup wearer, because I would notice like people who have cystic acne or people with severe acne, I would notice how they would cake on a lot of the makeup, but it's like it's so heavy for your skin. And sometimes I would notice even like they might have like inflamed acne, some that are red that look like it's picked on, but then you're applying makeup on top of that. And I get it, right? You want to put on makeup because you want to cover the insecurity, or you know, you want to look your best, but it's like you applying the makeup could also just be making the problem worse. So that's why I feel like the powder routine is something that's definitely worth giving a try, just because it's so light, it's so airy, it still gives you the look. Like for me, I got to a point where, listen, I have acne, especially if like you can notice the texture and things like that. If I have a breakout, I'm not concerned about hiding the acne anymore. Before, I feel like I was trying to conceal the acne and all of that. But now when I wear makeup, it's not about covering my acne. It's just about beautifying myself a little more to give myself a glow. You get what I'm saying? Make myself look a little more polished. So I'm not so worried about like layering so much foundation, so much concealer to try to cover the blemishes underneath or the hyperpigmentation. If you see a little hyperpigmentation or discoloration through my powder makeup routine, that's your business. Mind your business. I still look good and polished. You get what I'm saying? So for me now, it's not about trying to hide what's underneath the makeup. It's just about, let me enhance my beauty a little bit more. And I feel like ever since I've done that, it relieves you of that burden of trying to hide under the makeup, because it's like you don't need to do that. And let's be honest, if you have acne, you have acne. No amount of makeup is going to hide that. So for me, it's just like, if you're gonna wear the makeup, I'm not saying don't wear the liquid foundation if that's your preference, especially if you have dry skin. I'm talking to people with oily skin. For me personally, because my oils are naturally being produced throughout the day, it may not be as much, say, like when I'm going through like an inflammation session. But as a person with oily skin, I feel like a powder routine is just perfect for me, because it's like that balance. I layer all my powders the same way I would as a liquid makeup routine, and then I use my water setting spray, so that's also another layer of no chemicals. So when I'm done, my makeup looks matte, but it looks good. And then throughout the day, when my natural oils start to come out, it just like sets everything even more to where it just looks normal. Like it looks like my skin, you get what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like I would definitely recommend, if you are having issues with breaking out after you do your makeup and you are using liquid products, try switching over to a powder makeup routine and see how you like that. Like in my current makeup routine that I've had for like about 2 years now, the only liquids that I have is my concealer, which I use to carve out my eyebrow. That's it. And probably like, well, eyeliner, since that's like cream, but literally everything else is powder. And when I tell you, when I put it on my face, I don't feel heavy throughout the day. I don't have like this icky sticky feeling throughout the day, like, oh, I can't wait to go home to wash my face, because I literally have light powder on my face. And my natural oils are just like, you know, setting it in even more, so it just feels like skin. But when I used to have like liquid makeup, it just was not it for me. And just imagine, after years of getting acne facials, I was really dependent on facials being the cure to my skin. It's like the idea of just getting an extraction and having cleaned out pores made me feel like, okay, now all I have to do is maintain these clean pores, without realizing how my diet was negatively affecting my acne. But also, it was getting really expensive, because I started to feel like, well, okay, maybe I should go to someone that's a lot more professional, even though all my estheticians, except for the first one, but all of them were really professional. But I started to feel like, okay, the more money that I spend, the more quality my facial is gonna be. And that's not always the case. Like, it got to a point where I had to say to myself, like, I gotta put a pause on these facials, because God forbid, like, I'm in the wilderness or something, you can't get a facial. So what could I do on my part without the help of someone else to relieve my skin of being inflamed? So that question is ultimately what inspired just this whole idea of, let me figure out what I need to do internally in order to resolve this issue. However, facials are such a great way for maintenance. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a pause on facials, I'm gonna figure out what's going on internally, and then once I get a balance of that, then I'm gonna get back into facials. But until then, right now, facials is a poor investment, just because it's literally just like this cycle happening. I'm spending money, my acne is getting triggered again, I'm running back to get a facial, then my acne is getting triggered again. It was like pouring water into a cup that had a hole at the bottom if you weren't handling the problem that was going on externally, but most importantly, internally. But it's just like, let's figure out what's causing the acne, so that way your skin is not really producing as much acne. And then from there, for maintenance, you can get your facials, so then we could work on texture, we could work on complexion and all of that. So now let's discuss the internal ways that your acne can be triggered so that it shows up on the outside. First, let's start off with understanding the body, but also how inflammation is the central role in triggering but also worsening acne. And it's not just a skin surface issue, it's a whole body issue, because at the end of the day, your body is a system that works together. So what is inflammation? Inflammation is your body's immune response to injury, infection, or a perceived threat. So when it's short term, it can be protective, but when it is long term, it can damage your tissues, it can disrupt your hormones, and it can contribute to skin problems. And if you're wondering, how does inflammation affect your acne, let me explain. Your sebaceous glands, which are the oil producing layers under your skin, are triggered by something to become overactive, resulting in more oil production. But here is the main issue. Inflammation changes the skin's oil composition, making it thicker and stickier. In return, this traps dead skin cells and creates a plug inside of the pore. And there is a specific acne bacteria that thrives inside of that clogged pore. The immune system then responds to that bacteria by releasing a protective but inflammatory chemical that leads to redness, swelling, and pain. And the thing is, once inflammation starts, it literally feeds into itself. Inflammation leads to more oil production and more bacterial activity, which then leads to more inflammation. It's literally a toxic cycle that does not want to end. That is why tackling both the internal triggers and the skin surface is so important to breaking the cycle. Now let's get into some of the most common but overlooked internal triggers that worsen acne. So just to give a preview, we're going to be discussing high glycemic foods, hormonal fluctuations, poor gut health, stress, and dairy. Now for this part, I need you to open your ears and grab your pen and paper and make sure you are comprehending everything that I'm saying, because these are the things that a lot of people don't talk about. These are the things that help me so much versus me focusing so much on the topicals and things that I could put on my skin, but more so what can I focus on that's going on internally that is off balance. Because ultimately this was the most crucial part to me figuring out how to balance my body out to limit my acne triggers. First and foremost, sugar is the devil. If you didn't know, I'm telling you now. And I don't mean all sugars, but more so I'm talking about refined sugars, so your white sugars and all of that stuff. Sugar affects acne mainly through hormonal and inflammatory pathways, and is literally one of the most biggest dietary factors that lead to breakouts in just people with acne prone skin. And y'all, refined sugar has been the start of my acne problems. Like, just to give a quick little story, just so you guys understand, like when I started to notice like my severe acne happening, this was literally my freshman year of college. I was stressed out, life was new, you know, you're trying to adjust to the differences of life. And when I tell you, every single day I would stop by the deli, and y'all know them little peppermint balls, the one that's like 10 cents. I used to buy $1 to $2 worth daily, so that's about 10 to 20 pieces of candy that I would eat throughout the day. I feel like it was kind of like a stress relief for me, I don't know, but when I think about it now, it was like I was literally ingesting pure sugar at large amounts on a daily basis. And then on top of that, I was working at Starbucks, so I was drinking the sugary drinks. And this is before I got to like my current phase right now, where I'm a dark coffee girl, so I might just do coffee with milk and that's it, no sugar. And anytime I tell people that, they be like, really? I'm like, yeah, like the milk and the coffee taste sweet enough for me. Like, that's how much I've adjusted my taste buds. I don't put sugar in my teas, I don't put sugar in my coffee, I don't put sugar in my latte. I get unsweetened milk. When I tell y'all it's strict over here, it's not strict, but like my taste buds are adjusted to the non-sugariness. But back then, working at Starbucks, I would try out the new drinks. If a customer ordered a drink, I'll be like, oh, let's make a little extra so we could try it out behind the scenes. Then you got the Starbucks pastries, the cake pop, the brownies, the chocolate chip cookie. Ooh, that chocolate chip cookie was good. But y'all, when I tell you, during that time, I was putting things into my body that I did not realize was literally working against me. And when I think about it now, I'm like, damn girl, if I could just go back and tell you, put it down. And it's crazy because around that time, my acne was at its worst. I think it was one of the worst times that I've had, because of how much sugar that I was taking in. And yeah, I was drinking water, and yeah, I was doing my green juices, but it's like that doesn't change the amount of sugar that is still going into my body. I had like those big pimples like on my forehead, on my cheeks, on my jawline. When I think about myself during that time, my confidence was at such an all-time low, because it was like, you can hide other things, but like I can't hide my acne. I still had to go to school, I still had to go to work, I still had to be in people's face. Mentally, it was just a lot, to the point where I felt like my life was just going to be acne for the rest of my life. And honestly, the sad part is I had got to a point where I'm just like, I'm trying to do everything, so I thought I'm trying to do everything, I'm getting these facials, but yet my skin still keeps breaking out. I got to a point where I'm just like, well, if my skin is gonna break out, I'm just gonna keep eating the stuff that I want to eat, because YOLO, right? But I realized down the line, like, that's a very toxic thing, because at that point you're being your own worst enemy. But again, I didn't fully grasp the concept that my diet was the problem to what I was doing, because I thought, oh, well, if I'm getting facials, then why am I still breaking out? But it's like, girl, it's what you're putting in your mouth. Especially since when I would go to the dermatologist, I was just getting frustrated with them, because I'm like, you guys are not helping me. It got to a point where I'm like, you know what, if y'all not gonna help me, the ones who's a professional, let me take matters into my own hands. And baby, I got on Google and I got on YouTube University and I was doing my research, and that's why we are here today. So let's get into the information. So first, let's start with glycemic index. Glycemic index is the carbohydrate, also the carb, rating scale that shows the effect of how a specific food item raises or spikes your blood sugar levels or your insulin levels right after you eat it. And just a reminder, in case you're forgetting how carbs might affect your sugar levels, carbs are basically complex sugars, and when it's digested by your body, it turns into more simple sugars like glucose. And you might go to the extreme and say, like, why not just avoid carbs altogether? But that is the body's main source of receiving the energy that it needs after it breaks down your food. And since we briefly covered blood sugar levels, let's now discuss the effect that it has on your insulin levels. So insulin is a hormone that is created by your pancreas. This hormone helps your cells absorb glucose from your blood so that the energy could be used now or stored for later. So basically, after eating, especially carbs, when your blood sugar rises, your body then releases insulin in order to bring your blood sugar levels down by basically moving it into the cells. So in case you don't understand, let me just give like a quick breakdown of how it all works together. So when you eat, your blood sugar rises, your pancreas will then release insulin, and the amount of the insulin hormone that's released is directly correlated to the glycemic index rating of the particular food items that you're eating. Then the insulin hormone tells the cells to absorb the sugar, which will basically cause your blood sugar levels to rise, right? Then after a while of you not eating and just relaxing after you eat, then your blood sugar levels will begin to lower back down. And in this video, I'm trying to give like the most basic information that I could give for you to have like good understanding, but I'm going to create a PDF file and several of them that I'm going to attach down below in my description box, where you can actually see the breakdown of all of this, just so you guys can keep it, and it's free to download, so please educate yourselves. But I'm gonna give like a gist of everything in this video. So now I just want to say, the problem isn't having occasional high spikes in your blood sugar levels. The problem is when you are having consistently high spikes in your blood sugar levels. And this is triggered by high glycemic foods that are digested and absorbed by your body quickly, causing a rapid spike in your blood sugars and then leading to a higher insulin response. So some examples of food that can do that is white rice, white potatoes, white bread, candy, sugar, sodas, pastries, and all that other stuff. And then you have low glycemic foods that take longer time for your body to digest, causing a steady release of sugar, which leads to a lower insulin response. So basically foods like oats, legumes, sweet potatoes, vegetables, and so on. And I'm also going to be creating a list of foods that are considered high glycemic and low glycemic, so you can then look at that and like alter your diet based off of what you like and what you can incorporate into your meals. And glycemic index can kind of be tricky because certain foods can change on their glycemic index based on certain factors. So for example, if a food is high in fiber, since fiber takes longer to digest, that means that it will have a lower glycemic index. Or let's say, for example, the processing of food. So if a food is being more processed, then it has a higher glycemic index. But if it's less processed and it's in its most natural state, oftentimes it'll have a lower glycemic index. Or let's say, for example, foods that are high in fats and protein. These tend to lower the glycemic index of foods by slowing down digestion. And then most importantly, you have to consider the ripeness of a particular food item. So let's say, for example, bananas. The less sweet that it is, the lower the glycemic index, which is better for your blood sugar levels. But the riper it is, the more higher the glycemic index is. So you see like how it's one particular food item. Yes, it's still good for you, but depending on the state of it and the ripeness of it will determine how much sugar content you're getting out of it. So ideally, you want to aim for more lower glycemic index foods on a consistent basis. Like you can still throw in a little, like high glycemic food, but you don't want it to dominate your meals just because that will be what triggers your acne. So ultimately, lower glycemic index food items are best for balancing out the body, balancing out blood sugar levels to avoid the triggering of acne. And also another key thing is to be mindful of how often you're eating. So a lot of times I feel like people tend to snack and things like that, and they want to eat like a lot throughout the day. But I've gotten to a point where like I notice that my body responds a lot better when I'm eating like 2 to 3 times a day. But let's say if I'm eating breakfast around like 11 a.m., I'm making sure it's a loaded, balanced breakfast that won't leave me feeling sluggish, but it'll fuel and energize my body. But I don't really do sugary sweet stuff. I tend to try to do like a combination of a lot of low glycemic foods that are like like fueling my body, it's filling me up, it's satiating me, I will do that, and then I'll have like dinner around like 7, 8 o'clock. So that way that'll be like my 2 spikes throughout the day. And I might have like a little snack in the middle of the day, but even then it's not something that will trigger my blood sugar levels so much to where I'm having these constant spikes throughout the day. Versus, for example, I knew someone who was trying to lose weight and they would avoid eating meals because they felt like, oh well, the meals are what's causing them to gain weight. But the issue was she was snacking so much throughout the day trying to avoid real meals that she would end up snacking on like cereal or like cookies and little things like that, not realizing that those are things that are triggering your blood sugar so much and so consistently because you're snacking on it throughout the day. Like your body is never really getting full, so you're just constantly going to keep like munching. You are constantly spiking your blood sugar levels versus you eating a completely balanced meal in the beginning of the day, maybe something light midday, and then something filling at the end of the day, and then call it a night. And then throughout the day, just keeping yourself hydrated. So just to briefly go over everything that we just went through, high glycemic foods lead to higher blood sugar spikes. This then causes your body to release more insulin. Now to take it a step further, let's discuss the hidden link between insulin and acne. So like a domino effect, the more insulin that is being produced by the body, that means that there will be more androgen activity. And I'm gonna do a completely separate video on this because that in itself is like a loaded thing. So this is basically hormones like testosterone that stimulates the sebaceous glands. So now if you are having boosted sebum production, you are more likely to have clogged pores from all the oil that's being produced. Because again, remember, at that point your skin's oil composition is changing and it's now more stickier and thicker. So that's going to lead to more clogged pores the more that you're pumping out. And then at that point, you are having an increase of skin cell turnover, meaning dead skin cells are only piling up faster, creating more blockages. And then ultimately, this promotes inflammation, which if you think about it, all of these steps are the perfect storm for an acne breakout, especially in the most two common forms of acne. So comedonal acne, which is clogged pores, and then you have inflammatory acne like pustules and just like cystic acne. And I just want to make it very clear that all sugars are not bad. Your body needs natural sugars in order to thrive. So for example, my favorite way of getting in my sugars is through eating dates and through eating my fruits. Because for one, it's natural sugars, and let's be honest, our taste buds like sugar, right? But also it's high in fiber, which helps with bowel movements, but also fruits are hydrating. And it gives me all the antioxidants and nutrients that I need. So it's really important to understand that natural sugars do not spike your blood sugar levels like refined sugar does. However, juices, syrups, and dried fruits, because it lacks the fiber content, that will then like have your body absorb the food more quickly, which can then result in a higher blood sugar spike, just like how refined sugar would. So you kind of have to be careful with the different forms that you're eating particular foods without completely restricting yourself, but just being mindful of how often you're eating it. And unfortunately, once you have high sugar intake, if you're constantly having blood sugar spikes, your body can also become immune to the production of insulin. So when you are constantly having high insulin levels and inflammation, that can result in having persistent hard to clear acne. But I'm going to do a completely separate video on insulin resistance because that can help like different groups of people. Now to discuss one of the most important things that I don't feel like I ever hear people talk about is the importance of pooping. Y'all, I know gut health, we say like, oh, you have to make sure you're feeding your body the right things and all of that, but you have to make sure that you're pooping because your body will tell you whether you are giving it the right things or not. When you're constantly constipated, you need to look at your diet. When you're constantly having runny gutty stuff, you need to look at your diet. When you are having regular poop sessions, that is a great thing because that is your body showing you like, okay, everything is flowing normally. So for me, if I go more than 2 days and I'm not pooping, I will break out. Like, you have to think about it. You pooping is basically your body's way of releasing the toxins. If you aren't releasing the toxins, then it's going to release itself in another way, and that is usually through your skin. So around the time when I did not understand this particular thing, my forehead used to be a crunch bar because my bowel movements were not normal. So that's why it's so important to get in flow with your body, to really know how to read your body. So that way, if you see that you're constipated, you know, okay, let me me add some more hydration into my meals. Because for me, I drink a gallon of water a day. Like, that is a non-negotiable. Like, it's not even something that's a force for me. It's just natural to me. I'm like a fish. I drink a lot of water. But hydrating yourself is so important. Not only hydrating yourself through water, but making sure that you're eating your hydration. So I love cucumbers. I love watermelon. I love my tomatoes. Oftentimes, these are things that you can get through your fruit and your vegetables. And also, when it comes to my meals, I try to have a balance of everything on there. I try to have a balance of fats, proteins, carbs, greens, so that way, for one, I'm satiated with my meals, so I'm not feeling like I'm going back in the fridge to see like, oh, what can I go snack on? Because once I eat a fully loaded meal that has some of everything, I feel good at the end of it. But I'm not gonna lie, this video is getting really long and there's so much that I could like just layer and talk about, but we're gonna just make this a series and I'm gonna talk about this because it ties into the food content that I do. It ties into just like my lifestyle. So I'm gonna do more videos in depth talking about hormones, foods, juicing, and all of that. So if you guys would love to follow my Instagram page of what you want to eat, I'm gonna link that down below. But I also have my YouTube channel, which is gonna be strictly food. So I'm gonna be sharing a lot more like long form and meal prepping content on there, just to show you guys like how my diet has changed and how it has been such a great thing in my life. And I still get breakouts here and there. Like I said, that I got a little something up here, a little something right there, but that's because I'm currently in a high stress environment. But that's gonna change soon, God willing. But like I said, I'm gonna have the PDFs linked down below so you guys can download them for free, and I want you guys to look over them, but also follow my Instagram page because I'll be discussing more about meals and things like that. But like I said, I don't want this video to be extremely long, and there's so much more that I could add into this, but I really wanted to just like emphasize on certain things that I think are so important that I feel like a lot of people tend to miss or don't really have like a full understanding on. But like I said, I'm gonna be doing more content basically breaking down like some of these points in their own individual, so that way I can give as much information without having to worry about trying to fit everything in one video that's going to be like 50 hours long because I talk too much. But y'all, anyways, I thank you so much for watching this video and I hope you guys learned something from this. Stay tuned for the future content because listen, acne is a journey and you are still beautiful if you have your acne. You just have to accept yourself at your current phase, love on yourself, and like really nurture yourself out of the phase into the phase that you want to be in, which I feel like for all of us is clearer skin or even just better from the stage that we're currently at. So just be patient with your journey. It's going to take time. You have to be patient. Like, it's not something that you can hyper fixate on. Like, I'm telling you, I had to not focus so much on my acne for me to then realize one day like, wow, like it was almost honestly like having imposter syndrome. Like, wow, like my skin looks different and I wasn't expecting this because just the other day I was complaining. But it really does take time and it really is a journey and you have to be patient on the journey. So I genuinely wish you well. And like I said, I hope that you guys subscribe to this channel because we're really going to be getting into it and we are on the journey to skin that we can be proud of. You get what I'm saying? But we're going to heal our body from the inside out so that it can reflect. But as long as you are beautiful on the inside, that is all that matters, okay? Because beauty on the inside will always reflect on the outside. And that's what we're here for. But we're also going to be working on the outside because that's where confidence comes in. You get what I'm saying? But anyways, I thank you guys for watching this video and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.